What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got a reaction to Chet Baker and his album Chet Baker Sings, brought to us by a friend, longtime supporter, and patron of the channel, Osmond. Thank you, Osmond. Always appreciate you. Always appreciate all the patrons that make this thing go. If you'd like to support us in any way, check out the Patreon link below, or the patron link on the end screen. Without the patrons, this channel could not happen. All right, I never even heard of Chet Baker. So you guys who are fans of jazz and are jazz experts, you got to give me a little leeway and grace here, but I'm looking forward to this one. Osmond says, this is one of my favorite jazz albums and would broaden the content on the channel even more. We have a little bit of jazz stuff up. I would like you to react to the 1956 reissue version because the 1954 original version is a lot shorter, but because of technical advancements, the album was reissued in 1956. Just letting you guys know, so if you have two different versions of it, this is the 56. With the new A-side and the original album on the B-side, and this reissue is the definitive version of the album. I found Chet Baker was an American jazz trumpeter and vocalist. He's known for major innovations in cool jazz, leading him to be nicknamed the Prince of Cool. Now that is a freaking good nickname, right? Baker earned much attention and critical praise through the 50s, particularly for albums featuring his vocals, this one, It Could Happen to You in 58. And then jazz historian Dave Gelly described the promise of Baker's early career as James Dean, Sinatra, and Bix rolled into one. Now that is some pressure. His well-publicized drug habit also drove his notoriety and fame. Baker was in and out of jail frequently before enjoying a career resurgence in the late 70s and 80s. Chet Baker Sings is his debut vocal album, released in 1954 by Pacific Jazz Records. In 2001, it received the Grammy Hall of Fame Award. Baker would return to selections from this album throughout his career. I read a bunch of stuff on this album. I mean, it's hard to find info on stuff like this, but there's an article called Chet Baker Sings, How the Cool Jazz Trumpeter Found His Voice. Charles Werning on You Discover Music. I just thought the description of this was kind of set the table for those of us who don't know him. He said if Chet had never recorded a vocal album and just focused on playing the trumpet, he would still be regarded as a major star. But when he stepped up to the microphone to record his vocals for the first time in February of '54 at Capitol Studios in LA, under the supervision of producer and Pacific Records boss Dick Bach, he captured the first of a number of recordings that would make up Chet Baker Sings, and his life and his career took another momentous turn. Fresh-faced and boasting chiseled features, Chet Baker was just 24 years old when he recorded this album. He had already made his name in the jazz world 2 years earlier when he was a member of baritone saxophonist Jerry Mulligan's famous Pianoless Quartet. The group, with its horn lines and mellow emotional aura, laid the sonic blueprint for what became known as the West Coast cool school sound. But it was Chet Baker Sings, recorded 2 years later, after the trumpeter had left Mulligan's band, that catapulted the young Oklahoma hornblower into the consciousness of mainstream America. More importantly, perhaps, he had conquered the hearts of a growing legion of young female admirers who swooned over his good looks and alluring sound. In truth, Baker's voice was unusual. Those unaware of his singing style often thought Baker was female. The original Pacific Jazz release of Chet Baker Sings was a 10-inch album comprising 8 songs, all jazz standards, which Osmond was referencing, with Baker accompanied by pianist Russ Freeman, bassist Carson Smith, and drummer Bob Neal. 6 more vocal tracks, all taken from the Great American Songbook, were laid down in LA at the Forum Theater on July 23rd and 30th of 1956. Now, Baker's sidemen, only Russ Freeman was retained from the 1954 session, with Jimmy Bond coming in on bass and Peter Whitman and Lawrence Marabelle sharing the drum stool. They played on 3 tracks, each kind of giving an idea of who was on this thing. So before we jump into the music, will not be in the video, but it will be at a Vimeo link below. So please follow along with me. Thanks again, Osmond. Let's jump into this. And we'll start out the first track, That Old Feeling, written by Lou Brown and Sammy Fain. It's a popular song about nostalgia. It's published in 1937. First appeared in the movie Walter Wanger's Vogues of 1938, but it's actually released in 37. Sung there by Virginia Verrill, it was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Original Song in 1937. It was immediately a hit in a version recorded by Shep Fields and his Rippling Rhythm Orchestra. Now that is fantastic, right? It was considered to have spent 14 weeks in the charts, 4 weeks at number 1. Remember, in 1937, the charts actually didn't exist, but some guys have went back and reconstructed what they would have looked like. That's where you get these stats. I don't know what kind of time you got on your hands or how much time that would take to reconstruct what charts would look like, but kudos to those guys for doing it. I'm going to have the lyrics up as always. Let's check it out. That Old Feeling, obviously the highlight on there. Chet's vocals, very smooth. Trumpet work, fantastic. The piano work by Russ Freeman was exceptional. I mean, the song, it's about what a lot of songs back in the day, you know, it's either about Lost Love or I Love You. This is about lost love, that old feeling when he sees his old flame and realizes he still has all those feelings for her. So there's no use him trying to love somebody else or be with somebody else because all he wants is her. So a well done tune by Chet. Now we go to the second track, It's Always You, written by Jimmy Van Heusen and Johnny Burke for the 1941 film Road to Zanzibar. It was, in the film, it was sung by Bing Crosby. I think I saw Bing Crosby sing this on a live stream. I kid you not. One of our patrons, I'm almost sure, brought, I don't know if it was this song or another song, and I don't know that I'll recognize it, but for one of the themes we were doing. So there's some irony in that. It's Always You. Lyrically, again, same thing. Girl's gone. She dares him to be untrue, but it's always him every time he feels a breeze or anything good that happens to him. It's always her, even though she's not there with him. Once again, Russ's piano work is fantastic. And Chet's trumpet play is great. Drumming, nice, low key. You got to have it in these songs. That is done well. And just smoothness in Chet, right? You got to have that smoothness, man, to croon these songs. And he definitely has it. Now we go to the third track, Like Someone in Love, composed in 1944 by Jimmy Van Heusen, just like the last song was, with lyrics by Johnny Burke. So same thing. It was written for the 1944 film Belle of the Yukon, where it was sung by Dinah Shore. It was a hit for Bing Crosby in March 1945, reaching number 15, and has since become a jazz standard. This is a shorter one. Very simple song lyrically. I'm in love with you every time I see you. Kind of floating. I bump into things like someone in love. Kind of, you set my heart on fire, and I get all tingly inside, boys and girls. But it's really about Chet's delivery on this song. Fantastic. Piano work was really the star on this too, just low key. I don't really have a lot else to say about it. I mean, it was fine. Next up, we have a song I don't know anything about, My Ideal. All I know is written by Newell Chase, Leo Robin, and Richard A. Whiting. All right, let's go. My Ideal. The next song, I guess, is the longest song on here as I'm looking. But right there, one of the longest songs on here. I mean, 4 minutes, 22 seconds. Not a long song, but it doesn't even feel like it's that long. Just so smooth. Now, I'm trying to figure out what that instrument is, guys, so you got to bear with me. Like I told you, I am a jazz novice, man. I would never present myself as anything more than that. We always got to know what we know and know what we don't. I think it's a Celesta because it's the only other thing that is on here that's not a double bass or drums or piano. Russ Freeman plays it. I think that's what that is, but it gives us this unique sound, this almost not lullaby sound, but almost dreamy sound to it. So I really thought that was good. And he's talking about his ideal, right? A lot of times when we're younger, that's what when he's only 24 when he's recording. You think of your ideal, right? Your ideal mate as you're young, and he has got this picture of this ideal girl that he's created in his mind. He's worried if he passes her on the street, he won't know that she was the one, that he might never find this girl. So I thought just a really well done song. Now I did find a note, but I mean, I can't tell you this is true, but it says it's from the movie Playboy of Paris in 1930. I have no idea if that's right or not, but hey, we'll go with it. Now we're up to the fifth track, I've Never Been in Love Before, written by Frank Loesser. It was published in 1950. It's a duet from the 1950 musical Guys and Dolls, and is sung by the characters Sky Masterson and sister Sarah Brown. No duet here, just Chet doing his thing. Russ Freeman again laying down that piano. Just a nicely done tune here from Chet. This is one where you are in love, and he's professing his love to the girl. I've never been in love before. Now all at once it's you. It's you forevermore. I thought my heart was safe. I thought I knew the score. But this is wine. It's all too strange and strong. I'm full of foolish song, and out my song must pour. So please forgive this helpless haze I'm in. I've never really been in love before. So a really well done song. Obviously the instrumentation is top notch, but a smooth one there. Now we're going to finish out side one on the traditional album with My Buddy. It's a popular song with music written by Walter Davidson, lyrics by Gus Kahn. It was originally published in 1922, yes, 100 years ago from when I'm filming this. And early popular versions were by Henry Burr in 1922, Ernest Hare in 1923, and Ben Burney also in 1923. So if you remember those coming out, man, kudos to you. All right, My Buddy, just a really simple song. I don't know if his buddy is really a friend of his or a love interest. Kind of hard to tell, but just tell him I miss you and that kind of stuff. I mentioned it during it. That's more what I know as a traditional jazz sound. Once again, guys, I'm a novice at this, but I'm learning, man. So once again, it has that kind of sound, so I kind of enjoyed that. with the way the double bass was in there, the drums are laying those foundations, and the piano work of Russ was a little more understated. I think Russ's piano is great, but a nice song there. So now we're through with the A side, which was the side that, remember, was recorded in 1956. It was the add-on side. So now we're going to go to the B side, which was the original 1954 album. We're going to start that one off with But Not For Me from the great George and Ira Gershwin, written for the musical Girl Crazy in 1930 and sung by Judy Garland. Ella Fitzgerald's 1959 version of it won the 1960 Grammy Award for Best Female Vocal Performance, but that was, 5 years after Chet recorded this version. But Not For Me. Once again, I know I'm going to sound like a novice to you that know all this stuff, but a more traditional jazz sound, which I'm kind of think I'm going to get on this second side. Because remember, this is 2 years earlier, in 1954. I did notice right away, Chet's voice sounds a little bit different, right? It's much more refined on that first side song so far. I mean, we're only one song into this. I could see why he still sounds like a guy to me, but why people could think he was female, I guess, a little bit there. I couldn't see that on the first side at all. Still a smooth vocal performance, but you could tell he's kind of finding himself a little bit more, the way he's holding some of those notes, kind of playing around, I think, with finding his own style. But did enjoy that. I thought everything worked there, the double bass, the drumming, obviously the trumpet gets in there, and I would imagine it's going to showcase itself maybe even a little bit more, because the trumpet really didn't showcase itself on some of the songs on side A, but I bet on this one, since it was his first shot at singing, that everybody knew him for the trumpet. He comes on a little bit stronger in this side. Now we got Time After Time. It's a romantic jazz standard with the lyrics written by Sammy Cahn. In 1946, first recorded is November of 46 by Sarah Vaughan with a Teddy Wilson quartet. The song was written for Frank Sinatra, to introduce in the 1947 MGM film It Happened in Brooklyn. Sinatra recorded it again in 1957 with the Nelson Riddle Orchestra after it emerged as a jazz standard thanks to saxophonists like Getz and Coltrane. 1959 was a banner year for its popularity, being covered by many pop and jazz vocalists, so our man Chet was way ahead of the game. He was 5 years earlier in 1954. Time After Time, nice instrumentation on there for sure, nice trumpet work. Basically just that he loves this girl, and he's thankful time after time that he's able to love her, but a lot of the same musicianship as the last song. These guys are just out here busting it out. Trumpet work was nice, as I said. Next up, we're up to the 9th track. I Get Along Without You Very Well. In parentheses, except sometimes. We love the in parentheses in the 50s and 60s, man, with these song titles. Sometimes they're very long. We haven't had those yet. Written by the great Hoagy Carmichael. Written in 1939 with lyrics based on a poem written by Jane Brown Thompson. And the main melodic theme is by Chopin, taken from something from Chopin. Thompson's identity as the author of the poem was for many years unknown. She died the night before the song was introduced on radio by Dick Powell. That sounds like one of those stories. I mean, is that really true? But it's crazy. The biggest selling version was a 1939 recording by Red Norvo and his orchestra, vocal by Terry Allen. Carmichael and Jane Russell performed the song in the 1952 film The Las Vegas Story. I get along without you very well, except sometimes, in parentheses, and he's basically saying every time he doesn't get along well without her, right? I get along without you very well. Of course I do, except when soft rain falls and drips from leaves that I can recall, and all these memories. I've forgotten you just like I should. Of course I have, except to hear your name or someone's laugh that is the same. But I've forgotten you just like I should. And the bridge, what a guy, what a fool I am. Great understated piano work, drumming, double bass. It's all in here, and I actually like the tone of the song. Next up we have My Funny Valentine by Richard Rodgers and Lawrence Hart. It's a show tune from the 1937 Rodgers and Hart coming-of-age musical Babes in Arms, in which it was introduced by teenage star Mitzi Green. The song became a popular jazz standard, appearing on over 1,300 albums, performed by over 600 artists. One of them, of course, was Chet, and it says this became his signature song. You Chet fans, is this his signature song? In 2015, it was announced that the Jerry Mulligan Quartet, featuring Chet's version of the song, was inducted into the Library of Congress's National Recording Registry for the song's, quote, cultural, artistic, and or historical significance to American society and the nation's audio legacy. That's a big deal, guys. It sounds like this long, drawn-out stuff. That is a big deal. Light musicianship here, right? It's more about the song that pulls you in. The song was making me laugh, right? Because, so a little more clarity on the song itself is that it was addressed in the play, right, to Valentine Val Lamar. So it was addressed to him. Billy's describing the one who's singing it, Valentine's characteristics in unflattering and derogatory terms. Called his looks laughable, in keeping with the title, My Funny Valentine, right? But ultimately affirms he makes her smile and she doesn't want him to change. The description of Valentine was consistent with Lauren's heart's own securities and belief that he was too short and ugly to be loved. But the lyrics are very gender neutral, right? And it says later on, a large proportion of the cover songs have been men describing a hypothetical woman. That'll get you killed, boys. I wouldn't do that, but really good song there. Chet's vocals on this, I thought, by far are the best of this side too. Now we're going to be on to There Will Never Be Another You, music by Harry Warren and lyrics by Matt Gordon, that was written for the musical Iceland in 1942, starring Sonja Henie and John Payne. The songs in the film feature Joan Merrill, accompanied by Sammy Kaye and his orchestra. There will never be another you. Chet in his feels. He's going to have other girls. He's going to have other dreams. He may kiss other girls, but there'll never be another you. They'll never be as good as this girl was. Look, this song, musicianship-wise, was absolutely top-notch. Starts out with a fantastic trumpet solo. After verse 2, we also get another trumpet solo and Russ putting in the work. Probably my favorite song musicianship-wise. We got 3 songs left. We got The Thrill Is Gone, composed by Ray Henderson with lyrics by Lou Brown, which was first sung by Everett Marshall in the Broadway revue George White's Scandals in 1931. It was first recorded in 1931 by Rudy Valley and his Connecticut Yankees, and was later recorded by many other jazz artists throughout the following decades, eventually becoming a jazz standard. After listening to Chet Baker's cover, Elvis Costello became inspired and wrote Almost Blue off the album Imperial Bedroom, trying to capture its eerie quality. And later in life, Elvis and Chet had a great connection. And I'll kind of talk about the end, because Chet has a tragic story. But I wanted to listen to this album before I told you guys about his tragic story. The Thrill Is Gone, a tragic song, right? Love has grown old and cold, basically. And you can feel it in Chet's voice. He does a good job of kind of making you feel that despair in him. I think many of us, if we've lived long enough, have been in relationships where, most relationships, there's a science to this, there really is, where they're exciting at first and then they can grow stale and you realize, it's really just the excitement at first of a new relationship. It really wasn't the person. And that's where Chet's at right now, whether he wants it to be that way or not. It is what it is, as they say. So it was fine for me. I think after the standout of There Will Never Be Another You, musicianship-wise, it was kind of tough to follow that one. Now we fall into, it sounds like it's not going to work out for Chet again, but I don't know. I Fall in Love Too Easily. It was composed by Jewel Stein with lyrics by Sammy Kahn. It was introduced by Frank Sinatra in the 1945 film Anchors Away. The music for that movie won the Academy Award. This song was nominated for Best Song. Sammy said of the conception of the 16-bar song, the song was written one night in Palm Springs. When I sang the last line, Jewel Stein looked over at me and said, "So that's it?" I knew he felt we could have written on, but I felt I had said all there was to say, and if I had to do it over again, I would stop right there again. Okay. The thing with these songs is they seem to just move so quickly. Yeah, there's really nothing to this song lyrically, so I see why. I mean, not nothing as far as subject matter, but I mean, it starts out, I fall in love too easy, I fall in love too fast, I fall in love too terribly hard, for love to ever last, and then it just has 2 verses that are the exact same repeated. My heart should be well schooled because I've been fooled in the past, but I still fall in love so easily. I fall in love too fast. So he's getting his heart broke right and left. Poor Chet there. I thought the musicianship on here was good. I thought it had to be, because the song's 3 minutes, 21 seconds, which isn't a long song, but I mean, there's not much to it lyrically. But you could also feel it in Chet's vocals a little bit, the disparity there. And now we're to the final track. We got Look for the Silver Lining. So we're going to finish this on a positive note, or he's heartbroken again and somebody's telling him to look for the silver lining. Written by Jerome Kern and Buddy De Silva in 1919. It was written for the unsuccessful musical Zip Goes a Million. In 1920, it was published and reused in the musical Sally, whence it was popularized by Marilyn Miller. Among others, it was later covered several times by Judy Garland, whose version also became and remains well known. So as we've noticed here, most of these songs are actually started out on Broadway. So thank goodness that we had that around to bring us all these standards. Look for the silver lining. A nice positive way to end this album out, right? Chet's telling us, look for the silver lining in life. Same thing, right? we got a verse, and then we got 2 repeating verses, which, while I might not know a lot about jazz, I do know a decent amount about songwriting, and that's how it was done in the first half of the last century, right? Because in plays, that's how it works really well, because when the character's singing this, it really punctuates the point if we sing the same chorus or the same verse twice in a row to finish out the song. It just gets the point across a little bit better. So that's why we have that there. But look for the silver lining in life. That could be a theme for all of us, right? Because we all do this, right? It's just human nature. We have to fight this. Even if you don't do it, you're fighting it inside. We always want to dwell on the negative, and we can't really see the positive, even though oftentimes the positive way outweighs the negative. We just don't want that negative or uncomfortable feeling in our life. So now we're going to get to my favorite tracks. And I think it works out well, because remember, side 1 was recorded 2 years later in 1956. I got 2 favorites from that. That Old Feeling, the first track, and then My Ideal. Side 2, which was recorded in 1954, I have My Funny Valentine and There Will Never Be Another You. So I got 2 from each side, 14 tracks. I've been saying this, I know I've been beating this drum. I'm no jazz expert. I'm barely a jazz novice, right? But I'm learning. We're doing some jazz stuff, and I think jazz is something that could really suck me in, and I could go head first into it. And I just don't have the time to do that right now in my life. But fantastic work by everybody. Got to shout out Russ Freeman on the Celesta and on the piano. Fantastic. Chet, of course, trumpet work is next level. Carson Smith and Joe Mondragon on the double bass were great. Bob Neal, great on the drums. So was Lawrence Marable and Peter Whitman. Jimmy Bond also on the double bass. Because remember, it's 2 separate recordings, 2 years apart. But I'm really glad they went back and put that side 1 on there. I don't know that this album would be nearly as definitive if they hadn't, but this was really, really good. I didn't know anything about Chet, and I told you earlier, I'll tell you a little bit about how Chet's life ended. He said he started doing heroin in 1957, but some people who were around him before that said he started in the early 50s. Sometimes he pawned his instruments to buy drugs. During the 60s, he was imprisoned in Italy on drug charges and was expelled from both Germany and the UK for drug-related offenses. He was deported to the US from Germany for getting in trouble with the law a second time. He settled in California, performing in San Francisco and San Jose between jail terms for prescription fraud. So obviously the musical landscape of our history is littered with drug issues, but Chet's were really, really bad. And in 1966, he was beaten, probably while trying to get drugs. He kind of gave a few different stories of that, but they beat him so bad and a lot of his teeth were knocked out that he couldn't play music anymore, right? He couldn't play the trumpet. He worked at a gas station until concluding that he had to find a way back to music, and after 3 years, he got dentures and was able to start playing again. From 78 to 88, when he died, he lived in Europe, entering the U.S. once a year for a few performances. This is his most prolific era as a recording artist. And Elvis Costello really liked Chet. He was an admirer of his. In 1983, he brought him in to do a solo on Elvis's song Shipbuilding for the album Punch the Clock, which helped Chet get over to a whole nother audience. He also did some things. In 1986, he did Chet Baker live at Ronnie Scott's London, presented him in an intimate stage performance, filmed with Elvis Costello and Van Morrison. So, he had people who really, really looked at him and wanted to help him during his lifetime. His death, he died in Amsterdam. They found him outside on the pavement. He had fallen from his second-story room. There was cocaine and heroin in his system and in his body. Some people said he got locked out. Some people said he just accidentally fell off. They didn't think he tried to do it. Just one of those things. But man, a great suggestion by Osmond. I had never heard of Chet. I super appreciate it. My rating on the album, look, I know I probably said it 10 times. I've never said this in videos as much as I've said here. This is not my genre of music. So even given a grade here, I'm real leery on doing, because I don't know all the nuances to look for. But first listen, for me, it's going to be a 7.5. It may be sky high for you jazz experts out there. I don't know, but 7.5 is a really good grade, especially on the kind of music I don't usually listen to. So thank you to Osmond. Thank you to everybody for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I could take it. Be kind or be a little bit kind. Look for the silver lining of this reaction, right? Until next time, guys, I will see you.